Will you pray with me? Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts always be acceptable to you, our strength, our rock, and our Redeemer. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. Choices. We live in a society that thrives on having choices. Our free market system of economy exists because we want to choose between various options. Just walk into any grocery store and look around. How many different brands of spaghetti sauce do we really need? And even if there were only one brand, how many different flavors are necessary? As a culture, we want the ability to choose because it gives us the feeling that we're in control. If there were only one brand and one flavor, it would be easy to think that the manufacturer was telling us what to buy. Most people, especially Americans, don't want someone else telling us what to eat or how it should taste. We want to choose for ourselves. We want autonomy. We have this notion that having choice leads to freedom and therefore is always good. But not all choices are easy. Buying spaghetti sauce, for example. I went to our local Kroger and counted 33 different brands of spaghetti sauce. Add to that all the various flavors that each brand produces, and making decisions becomes quite challenging. I can't possibly know what every sauce tastes like. I might buy one that I like well enough, but I have a sneaking suspicion that there might be one out there that tastes even better. I just won't know. Sometimes the decisions we make are between two good things, and sometimes we have to choose between what we call the lesser of two evils. These are tough decisions. With two positive choices, we know that we'll miss out on something good when we choose the other one. At least that's the way I see it. And with the two negative options, we know we lose either way. However, I would guess that even knowing the outcome, we don't want to give up the opportunity to choose. We were in control. Our reading from Deuteronomy this morning comes at a decisive time for the people of Israel. They have wandered through the wilderness for 40 years, led by Moses and Aaron, following the cloud of God's protection by day and the pillar of fire, God's flashlight, by night. And finally, after 40 years, they have come to the land that God has promised them. As they look to their new homeland, Moses presents to them the choice that they must make if they are to live as God's people. He says to them, "See, I have set before you this day life and prosperity, death and adversity. Choose life, that you and your descendants may live, loving the Lord your God, obeying him and holding fast to him. For that means life to you and length of days, so that you may live in the land the Lord wants to give to your ancestors, the Lord swore to give to your ancestors, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob." The people have a choice. Choose life or choose death. It seems like a no-brainer to us. As Pastor Andrew Connors writes, choose the covenant with God or choose death. Choose covenant and gain land. Choose death and lose land. Choose covenant, receive blessing. Choose death, receive a curse. Unlike spaghetti sauce, the Israelites are given only two flavors. So really, is there any choice? We know from history that the Israelites weren't really happy with just having two options. They wanted blessing and their own way. Isn't that often true with us too? As with any decision we make, our choices have consequences and sometimes conditions. Choosing life, of course, is the right decision, but it's not without condition. Choosing life means obedience to God's way of doing things. Choosing life means giving up control for both the Israelites and for us. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that all blessings are a result of our faithfulness any more than misfortunes are a result of our sins. Bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to bad people. It's just the way the universe works. But I do believe that even when bad things happen to good people, to God's followers, we have the blessing of knowing that we don't have to face them alone. The blessing of faithfulness to our covenant with God is the relationship that we develop with God along the way, even, and maybe especially, when the results are difficult. So even though we are not the ancient Israelites, there is a message for us here too. The life that God promised us is life in God's kingdom here on earth and for eternity when we choose faithfulness, when we choose life. The passage from Matthew's gospel that we just heard this morning begins with Jesus' words, "You have heard it said," and then it's followed by a section coming from the old law. Then he goes on, "But I say to you that," followed by a slight twist on what the law required. Jesus knew that the law didn't work well. Even with the law, people went their own way and made bad choices. Choices that challenged their relationship with God and their relationships with one another. Each of these teachings adds a new feature to the original passage from the Hebrew Scriptures. You'll recall at the very beginning of Jesus' ministry, he proclaimed that he did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. These new insights broaden the law's reach in a way that meets Jesus' promise. But these additions are also very difficult for us to hear. In this short passage, Jesus addresses murder, adultery, divorce, and making promises. All serious actions that can impact relationships with other people. It's not just wrong to kill someone, Jesus says. Now it's wrong even to be angry. It's not just wrong to commit adultery. Now letting your mind wander to fantasy about someone else is also wrong. It's no longer okay to divorce your wife by giving her a certificate of divorce. Even the act of divorce, according to Jesus, could cause her to sin. It used to be encouraged to swear an oath by calling on God's name. But Jesus now says, don't swear an oath at all. He says our words need to mean what we say. Let our yes be yes, and our no must mean no. Each of these demonstrates the value that God places on relationships because they speak to our intentions, not just our actions. They speak to what is in our heart, what's invisible, not just what others can see. They speak to the spirit of the law, not merely the letter of the law. Because each of the issues that Jesus addresses are matters of the heart, we can easily hide them from others. On the outside, we might look like model Christians, but these actions can sour our hearts and break down our relationship with God. The more we try to hide our bad choices, the more we hide from God. And God hasn't moved, but we have. As we move further and further from God, we starve our spiritual life and can't grow strong in our faith. Hiding our failings and not addressing them is not choosing life. Jesus' words sound pretty hard. To choose life, he has made the standard tougher by adding greater detail to the law. We can't just look good. Now we have to really be good. This might sound impossible. If the Israelites could never live up to the standard of the law, how can we possibly live up to a higher standard? Well, we can't. At least we can't on our own. The difference, and it's a huge difference, is that we have Jesus and we have the Holy Spirit. In Paul's letter to the Romans, he wrote, "If the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, he who raised Christ from the dead will give life to your mortal bodies also through his Spirit that dwells in you. The same power that gave life to Jesus after his crucifixion fills us to enable us to choose life. We have to rely on that power. We have to use that power. This reminds me of an old story of a Cherokee grandfather who was talking to his grandson. Some of you may have heard it, but I believe it bears repeating. Grandfather's trying to teach him the ways of life. And he says, I have this battle raging inside me. There are two wolves. One is an angry wolf, full of meanness and anger and gossip and lies, and he's just fighting against the good wolf who wants to be kind and gentle and love one another. And the little boy is transfixed as he's listening to his grandfather, and he says, Grandfather, which wolf is going to win? And the grandfather looks at him and says, Son, the one you feed. How do we choose life? Which wolf are we feeding? I think we begin here, at the altar. We choose to come to receive because somehow we know that this precious gift, the sacrifice Jesus made for us in laying down his life, makes a difference in our lives. The late Anglican Archbishop John Robinson explained Holy Eucharist as making holy that which is common. We offer all of ourselves to God, the good decisions and the bad, and God receives us and blesses us and makes us holy here at the table. We come vulnerable. We come bringing nothing but ourselves. We come as equals before God. We come hungry and thirsty for God and the Holy Spirit. Coming to this table helps us feed the right wolf. Retired professor of pastoral theology Charles Cook taught, when we are willing to come together to the altar, to offer ourselves completely, and receive in return all that we need, not just to survive, but to live, then we have something remarkable, something different and completely essential. We receive the power, the grace to choose life. And in that choosing, we receive the blessings of whole and healthy relationships with God and with one another. And we truly live. I have set before you today life and prosperity, death and adversity. Choose life that you and your descendants may live. May it be so.